everyone. For those of you that have been watching me for a while, you know I like rainbow food, but I also enjoy making food that looks like other food, like this candy sushi. Super easy to make. You'll need a batch of Rice Krispie treats. This is just a standard old Rice Krispie treat recipe. Super simple. 3 tablespoons of butter, 40 large marshmallows, about 4 cups, and you can use the miniature marshmallows as well. I used to cook this on low in a pot on the stove, but now I just put it in the microwave for about a minute to a minute and a half until the marshmallows are nice and puffy and the butter is melted, and I just stir it around until it's well combined and nice and smooth, putting it back in the microwave if necessary if you still have chunks of marshmallow left in there. And then add 6 cups of Rice Krispie cereal. I think they call these rice bubbles if you live in Australia. Stir it around until well combined. Now to make the sushi, we'll need a baking dish or a cookie sheet lined with plastic wrap, baking parchment, waxed paper. In this case, I'm using a silicone mat. I placed half of that Rice Krispie treat mixture on the cookie sheet. I put a little bit of butter on my hands just to keep my hands from sticking to the mixture, and then flatten it out until you get a rough rectangle shape. Now the size and length of the rectangle will depend on what kind of candy you're going to be using for the filling. In this case, I'm using Twizzlers, so I just made the rectangle long enough so that I could cover 2 Twizzlers that were placed end to end. So I placed the candy along the edge, and then using the silicone mat, I'm going to roll it up just like you were making real sushi by using a sushi mat to help roll the rice around the filling. And just roll that Rice Krispie treat around the candy until you get to the size that you want. I had a little bit too much Rice Krispie treat there, so I used to use the butter knife to cut off the excess, and I pinched that finished roll together just to make sure the seams were sealed, and I placed this in the refrigerator for a few minutes just to solidify a little bit to make it a bit firmer. Now for the other types of sushi I'm going to try to make, like the ebi and the shaki, you need little squares of rice, so I just cut little pieces of the Rice Krispie treats into small rectangles. And then set those aside and we'll finish the assembly in a few minutes. For the other half of the Rice Krispie treats, I just repeated the same thing. If you find your Rice Krispie treats are starting to get a little bit too hard to work with, a bit too solid, just put it back in the microwave for a few seconds just to soften it up a little bit. So once they've had a chance to chill a little bit in the refrigerator, you just cut them into slices using a sharp knife. And if they deform a little bit, just form them back into circles with your hands. Quite easy to do. Now to make these look more like maki sushi, and you want to try to imitate those nori wrappers or that seaweed wrapper around the outside, you can use fruit roll-ups or fruit by the foot. If it doesn't fit, you can just stretch it a little bit. Couple different ways you can do this. You can put on a whole big piece like I'm doing right now, wrap it all around, and then slice it using a sharp knife into individual little slices. Or you could cut those fruit roll-ups into long strips and just wrap it around your individual pieces as well. Now to make California rolls, you could just repeat the process, but using your fruit roll-ups on the inside of your Rice Krispie treats instead of the outside. Now for California rolls, they often have a little coating on the outside of toasted sesame seeds. In this case, I used some yellow Twizzlers that I cut into little tiny pieces using a pair of scissors, and I'm just rolling the outside of that sushi piece. And I also tried it with actual toasted sesame seeds, dark and light sesame seeds. And for those of you that are wondering, sesame seeds are very mild in flavor and they go quite well with sweet things. So the combination of sesame seeds and the Rice Krispie treats was actually not bad at all. Went well together. And if you've ever had sesame snap candy with the sesame seeds coated in sugar, I think you'll know what I mean. Now to make the nigiri, which is the raw fish on top of a piece of rice, I use these little candy fishes. We call them Swedish fish. And then they are wrapped with a little piece of fruit roll-up. And if you can't find the little fish candies where you live, there's a variety of different things you can try. Here you can find these Tootsie Rolls that come in a variety of colors. Not just chocolate, they have orange and they have cherry and lemon and vanilla. And you can also use Starburst candies. You can use Airheads candies, any kind of taffy that you can mold. Put it in the microwave for just a few seconds until it softens up. And then in this case, I formed it into a little cooked shrimp shape. and placed it on a piece of the Rice Krispie treats. And this is supposed to look like the ebi sushi, which is the cooked shrimp sushi. You'll have to excuse my pronunciation of these sushi terms. Now, to display them, I found this little plastic container. I think it had almonds or cashews or something in it. I cleaned it out, and then I'm just going to arrange the sushi like you would find it if you're buying it at a store that sells it. And often when you buy packages of sushi, it has these little green pieces of grass, plastic grass, to separate the pieces. So I just cut out a piece of green construction paper into that particular shape, and then placed it in between. And I think it turned out pretty good, actually. I was pretty impressed with the final result. If you have any sushi lovers in your family, I think they'd appreciate this. And then a few photos of the completed pieces. So I've tried to make maki sushi. I tried to make the California rolls, but I didn't put the nori on the inside. There's also some nigiri, the ebi, which is the cooked shrimp, and as well I tried to make the shaki with the raw salmon, which is a starburst candy. But overall, when you put them all together, I think it looks really cute. And you can vary and put whatever kind of candies you want in the center. You'll have to look at what you have available locally. If you like food that looks like other food, you might want to check out some of these other videos I've already made. On the left are cookie hamburgers. In the center is spaghetti and meatball cupcakes. And on the right is a full cupcake dinner including fried chicken, peas and carrots, mashed potatoes with some gravy and butter, and some corn on the cob. Click directly on your screen to see the videos or check out the links in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching, and if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, why don't you give me a thumbs up or subscribe while you're here? Makes me happy.